Since it's already 4 minutes after 6, I'm thinking we should probably get started. And
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that in the absence of an official chairperson, I volunteered to lead tonight's meeting, and I'm hoping that that might be acceptable to everyone
Yes.
if I lead tonight's meeting. Okay, then I'll call the meeting officially to order. Welcome to the August 25th, 2020 meeting of the Community Relations Committee. This meeting is being recorded by Easthampton Media. All past meetings of the CRC can be found on their website for future viewing. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call for attendance. Rebecca Passa.
Here.
Patty Dougherty.
Here.
Emily Britton. Did I even hear you? Emily,
Sorry.
did you?
Here.
Abby Goldberg.
Here.
Margaret Kirstein.
Here.
Mary Lou Splain.
Here.
Alyssa O'Leary.
Here.
Jan Norman. Okay. And Deborah Lusnea, I'm here. Okay, thank you very much. For the benefit of those of you who are joining us from the community, I'd like to start this meeting by sharing our committee's mission statement. Our mission is to promote positive relations throughout Easthampton's diverse population. We will work to build a sense of inclusion, community, and pride, where community members feel welcome, accepted, and valued. So first on the agenda will be the approval of our minutes, and then we'll move to public speak. So starting with the approval of the minutes, the first minutes we have to address are June 30th, 2020. And I'm wondering if anyone has any comments, additions, changes that they would like to recommend to regarding those minutes. Okay, if not, do we have a motion to approve them as they are?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Patty's motion to approve and Mary Lou seconded that. Okay, I
Wait,
guess I'll,
hold on. Did you say this is the June 30th ones?
yes.
Sorry, it's fine. I'm looking for my notes. I just wanted to suggest that in item B, it actually indicates which minutes are being approved in that meeting of 6:30. Like, it shouldn't just say move to approve the minutes. It should say move to approve the minutes of May, whatever.
Right, this will be June 30th, correct. Okay,
One thing, just to clarify, Rebecca, you're taking minutes tonight?
Yeah.
Super. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yes.
so we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes for the June 30th, 2020 meeting. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Do you want to do that as amended?
I'm sorry, Emily, go ahead. What?
With the edit of saying which minutes were approved in that June 30th meeting, because as you can see tonight, we're approving a whole bunch of minutes, and it should just say when the date of the previous meeting was.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking you were referring to that going forward.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that you were commenting on this particular, okay. Okay, so.
Yeah,
we have
so I think, yeah, so I think that would have approved the April 14th minutes.
Okay.
With that noted amendment that Emily has recommended, could I have all those in favor? And I guess we have to do a roll call for everything. So Rebecca, do you approve?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And I also do. Okay, very good. Thank you. Those have been approved. For the July 7th, 2020 meeting, I think it's great that we have the record that it wasn't held, but I don't think we need to go through the approval process. Are you comfortable with that?
And maybe, with your experience, you can direct me. I just see the agenda for that on the city site, so I wonder about submitting that to the city just so it's clear there on the website.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then we'll go through the process. Do we have any comments or suggestions regarding this document? Minutes for July 7th, 2020, where the meeting did not take place. No comments, suggestions. Okay, do we have a motion to approve this document as proposed?
A motion.
Okay,
Second.
and it's been seconded. I'll go through the roll call. Rebecca? You
Yes.
approve that motion? Patty?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
and myself. Okay. Next, minutes from the July 13th, 2020 meeting. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions for change, additions?
I would say the same thing in item B. It should say something about, although the minutes for the date of meeting blank, whichever meeting that was, were sent out by email, blah, blah, blah. 'Cause it just says although the minutes were sent out.
Correct. Okay, good point. Any other comments or suggestions for change? Okay, do we have a motion to approve with the addendum that Emily has noted?
A motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go through the roll call again. Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes. Patty?
So I was not at that meeting, so I don't know if I can approve those minutes.
You can, but you can also choose to abstain if you would prefer. Either way.
I'll approve them. I trust you guys.
Okay. Emily?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And I approve them also. Okay, last set of minutes. Minutes for the July 28th, 2020 meeting, for the work meeting. Any comments, suggestions, corrections? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so do we have a motion to approve?
A motion.
Is there a second? Okay, motion to approve, it's been seconded. Rebecca?
Let me just ask, I didn't get down who moved.
Oh, Alyssa did.
Okay. Is it Alyssa and Margaret each time? Anyways, my
Yes.
answer is yes. Thank you very much. And my answer is yes.
Patty?
Sorry, excuse me. Is somebody monitoring the waiting room? Because I
Yes,
just got an email.
Thank you. I was just getting a question from somebody about how to get in.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the,
If you could let them in. Thank you.
okay, so the meeting for approval for the July 28th, 2020 meeting minutes, we said Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay, with the addendum that Emily noted. Patty?
Yes.
Emily?
I'm going to abstain because I actually didn't have a chance to read those.
Okay. Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Is that the last one that Rebecca just sent?
No.
No,
Okay. It was in the group then. Okay.
correct.
Yes, I'll approve.
Okay, Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, and I also approve. Okay, so approval of minutes is done. We now
Yeah.
move to public speak portion of our meeting. At this time,
So,
I did.
You sent, very recently, you sent, Becky, I think the 8:11 minutes.
Yes, just like 2 minutes before the
Nobody
meeting.
else, so we're going to wait on those.
Yeah, I assume that's what you're saying is, although that's been sent out, it's not enough time for people to look at them. And they are,
we'll review them at the next meeting.
Okay.
So we'll move to the public speak portion of our meeting. At this time, any member of the public is welcome to speak to the committee. If you'd like to speak, use the raise your hand feature by selecting the participants option at the bottom of your screen, then click raise hand at the bottom of the participants window. If you are dialing in by phone only, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Please remain on mute until you are called, at which point you can unmute yourself. When it's your turn to speak, we will ask you to state your name and your street or the address of your residence before addressing the committee. I would also like to remind everyone that the members of the committee cannot respond to comments made during public speak. We ask that you remain respectful and direct your comments only to the committee members. There will be a 2-minute time limit for those who wish to speak. Would anyone like to address the committee?
so I see Myra has her hand up.
Okay, Myra?
Yep.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me. Okay, great. I'd like to comment that Rebecca Pasca, your audio is much better today. And I wasn't able to attend last meeting because it was double booked with another meeting, as is the case tonight. But I just wanted to speak to some things.
1 minute, Myra.
Yep.
Would you be willing to tell us your name in full? And then would you also be willing to please tell us where you live?
My name is Myra Oyetimi. I am a resident of Easthampton. I live in Ward 1.
Thank you.
Okay. And I just wanted to quickly speak, throughout the meeting, you were speaking of reaching out to the community and correspondence, and I noticed that correspondence is on the agenda. And several times it was referenced that there's a group email that exists amongst you, but it's not available to the public so that we can correspond with you. Unless someone happens to know your personal address and send you a letter, there isn't a way for the community relations to involve the community because we don't really have an email address in which we can send correspondence because, of course, there's several things that we would like to share, or rather I would like to share, let's speak for the I, with you. And I just wanted to address that. So if there is a public email or a group email that you do have to receive correspondence, can you publicly say that this evening? And that's all.
I'm just going to make an exception to the typical rule and just let you know that that's going to be addressed later on in our meeting tonight. We'll be discussing that, making that known in public. So thank you for the suggestion.
Okay, Ellen, I think, had her hand up.
Yep, I'm Ellen Leahy Pyle. I live in Ward 2. I'm a new Easthampton citizen, although I've lived in the Valley my whole life. I've observed several of your meetings because my church, which is not in Easthampton, is interested in anti-racist work and also in new issues around the police. And I'm glad that you're honoring the public speak rules tonight. I don't expect you to answer my comments. I am not affiliated with A Knee Is Not Enough, but during public speak at your July 13th meeting, someone affiliated with that group mentioned that at least 10 police officers were observing the meeting and said this does not feel okay. I'd like to amplify his voice because attention must be paid to the fact that being observed by police comes with a feeling of danger for most people of color. That, in fact, being observed by police in general and in many parts of the country is at the root of many of the tragedies we're seeing. A lot of crosstalk ensued at that meeting despite the public speak rules, and I would summarize that as police officers have a right to observe a public meeting. These are the rules we live by, and I support those rights. However, your mission is going to be to promote open dialogue, and you're hoping to design community forums. And I hope you will find a way, no matter how awkward, to acknowledge that the mix of unexpected police presence at any of those forums will constrain people of color, and hopefully find a way to ameliorate that. It wasn't, as a new citizen of Easthampton, I was surprised. It wasn't a good look for me. And a comment about terms. I am affiliated. I'm not affiliated with A Knee Is Not Enough, but I've heard members of this committee say in public meetings that they're affiliated with the police department, which one definition is closely connected to, officially attached. I'm hoping that's just a mistake in terms, a casualness, because maybe you have a great working relationship with the police and a liaison with them, and that's good in my view. I hope you will have a working relationship with many groups. But that you are independent of the police department. Affiliated is an inappropriate word unless you are really affiliated. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ellen.
So Carolyn, sorry.
Yes, Carolyn Cushing. I live on Main Street. And I'm saying hello just because I'm observing tonight. So I'm saying hello, I'm watching. And have been trying to watch and see what you're doing. And not comprehensively, but I a little bit of what I think was last meeting, where you were talking about having liaisons, like officially designating roles and liaisons to different aspects of the community, different community groups. And I just think that is a good idea to follow up on for building connections, building trusts, and then any events, things you're wanting to be doing, you'll have those connections and people will know about you, so they will feel committed to coming to events. I think that community building would be a good foundation to any other work you're doing. So I wanted to say that, and thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
So if you no longer want, once you've spoken, if you could lower your hand, just so, or do I do that for you? Okay. Great, thanks. Liz.
Hello. Shoot, I can't figure out, oh, there we go. Start video. Hi. I actually just wanted to say that I know that my friends Gabby Stevenson and Myra Oidemi have applied for the CRC, and I am very excited about those applications. I just wanted it on record that I think they'd be very strong and positive members of this committee and would provide a great voice. Their passions for diversity and for this community are inspiring. And I hope that the process goes well for them and that they can sit on this board or committee.
Thank you, Liz.
I don't see anybody else. Okay, sorry. There you are.
No, that's okay. Thank you. So I had a question from a couple of community members that I know that with public speak, I don't know that you can address questions directly, but I just wanted to go ahead and just put on record that there are community members who are wondering how they bring an issue to your attention. And I told them that I would go ahead and put that forward just to see if there is any platform in place. I know you're working on getting a city email address and a few other things that are being put into place, but I did have community members reach out to me and ask how they were able to bring an issue forward to the committee. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. And I would also just like to say that I think that both Myra and Gabby are amazingly energetic and thoughtful humans, and I just want to support their nomination to the CRC as well.
Thank you, Kay.
Welcome.
Anyone else? That's it? Well, thank you all for your thoughtful and helpful comments. We appreciate your participation.
I'd like to mention, Deb, that I was trying to get down, as you said, addresses or that they are from Easthampton, or I think two of them, I don't really know that from what they said. So
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm Kay Collins, and I am at 4 Carroll Ave, Easthampton.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm Liz Carey, and I live in Ward 3 in Easthampton.
Ward 3, thank you very much. I appreciate
Sorry
that.
about that.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item is the election of officers. At our last meeting, there were 2 nominations. We'll start off with the role of chairperson. At our last meeting, there were 2 nominations for chairperson, and that was Patty Dougherty and myself to serve as co-chairs. And so as a process, what I'd like to do is ask, is there any discussion about this? And are there any other nominations that you would like to put forth for this position? So does anyone have any comments or additional nominations, or Margaret?
Well, I don't have any additional nominations. I think you, Deb, and Patty would be wonderful co-chairs, and I support that.
Oh, thank you.
And my comment was just to make clear that the thought was having co-chairs.
Correct. Yes, for it to be a co-chair situation.
And I just wanted to apologize. I missed last working session, but I did sit down and watch it all. So I was able to kind of fill myself in, and I support the co-chairs and, Rebecca too. You've been doing an amazing job being our note taker and keeping us all sane. So I think, I support Patty, Deb, and Rebecca kind of leading us along.
Thank you, Alyssa. I'd love it if we were saying that. It'd be great. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Any other comments, suggestions? Are we ready to take a vote on that? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve Patty Dougherty and myself, Deborah Lusnia, to serve as co-chair persons for this committee?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been approved. A motion's been made and it's been seconded. I'll go through the list for your vote. Rebecca Passa.
Yes.
Patty Dougherty.
Yes.
Emily Britton. Emily, I think you're muted.
Unmute.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Abby Goldberg.
Yes.
Margaret Kirstein.
Yes.
Mary Lou Splain.
Yes.
Alyssa O'Leary.
Yes.
And I'll vote to approve also. Okay, thank you very much. It was unanimous approval. Thank you. Next, we'd like to have the same conversation about the role of secretary. So we had Rebecca Passa nominated to serve as secretary. Does anyone have any other comments? We had Alyssa make a comment. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say, or any other people they wanted to nominate?
There's something that I would want to clarify, which I would note that in the past, we've had a chair who submitted agendas and a kind of note taker who did minutes. So, of course, I'm interested in just making sure to understand the parameters of this role as secretary. And we had some discussion about also responding to correspondence.
Would you be comfortable with any one of those roles? Would you be comfortable with, are you comfortable with all of that? Or is there certain things you prefer not to be responsible for?
I am comfortable with all of it. I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Okay.
So that I'm clear on who's doing what. And maybe with especially the agendas, because the city clerk asked me at one point when I submitted my first agenda, who shall I send my reminders to, because she was accustomed to sending the reminders to the chair. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy with whatever the committee sees as the proper duties. Those are fine. I just wanted clarity, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we'll work that out between the three of us, who will do what exactly with regard to those tasks going forward, if that's okay with you?
That's okay with me.
Okay. Okay, so any other discussion? Questions, nominations? Margaret?
I was just going to say that I thought, if Rebecca would be the secretary, that would be great, because you've been very helpful in directing, or I know that I can look at what you've sent and I can, get the information I need. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll go through the list. Rebecca?
Abstain.
Patty?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Motion passes unanimously, and we have Rebecca as our official secretary. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your work. Great job, Deb. I recently listened to Peg Khan. If you sound a lot like her beginning the meeting, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
I slip right into my school committee days.
You're wonderful.
It's like the back of my hand. Okay, so moving on to correspondence. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've received anything that, has anything been shared in writing since our last meeting with the group? Did anyone receive correspondence that we're not yet aware of?
I should mention the one thing that I shared today, which you may have seen, and I think we kind of all know, is a communication from the office of the mayor that talks about the nomination of Gabriella Stevenson and Myra. Let me see if I can, I don't know if Myra's still here. I was depending on finding your name. Anyway, but they have both been nominated by the mayor, and I hope that you're not hearing this ring. Anyway, that piece of correspondence got shared. Let me mute myself.
So I think what Rebecca is just saying, that we all received a copy of the mayor's letter of appointment, which for those two individuals, which then has to go to the city council for the subcommittee to approve, and then the full committee to approve their appointments to our committee. So I think that that's what she was just calling to our attention, which everyone has seen, I believe. Okay.
Yes, and I muted because I think something was ringing loudly. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So as far as we know, there's no other correspondence.
Oh, let me say one more thing. One more thing is that, as we discussed at the last meeting, I did my best to write a nice note to Jane Hamill, thanking her for her service, letting her know that we appreciated that. It's in line with what we said, and I also just added a personal note just to remember, training together. She wrote a very nice note back today.
Nice.
So I did receive that response.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Margaret?
Yes, I was thinking I'm not sure exactly what form, because I've been seeing so many different documents, but about the withdrawal of Kathy, whose name just flew out of my head.
Right.
Committee member, and Jason withdrawing his application.
Yes.
Did you all see that? I don't know in what format that arrived, but that was another piece of correspondence.
Right.
Yes, so within what Lindsay of the mayor's office sent, there was a document which was the appointment of Gabriella and Myra, and it also included, maybe in the body of the email, the fact of Jason withdrawing his application. And basically I had previously, maybe I should say I had written the committee during these 2 weeks after trying to review the status of Kathy Gray. That became a confusion, so I watched city committee meetings to see what happened. So they actually did not approve her membership on this committee. But that was referred to in Lindsay's correspondence from the mayor's office that had all of those materials there.
Right. Yep. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. We'll begin our discussion of our plans for a Community Relations Committee sponsored forum. And I'd like to turn this discussion over to Patty.
So, for a number of meetings, we've been discussing sponsoring a forum of some sort that we could bring to the community. And what I'd like for us to do to just start moving this forward is just two things tonight. Come up with a short list of subjects that we might want to address, and have 3 or 4 people volunteer, and I have some ideas to take this on, because I don't I feel pretty strongly that we won't be able to organize this in this meeting. So we're going to need 3 or 4 folks to step up and take on organizing this. Now, it doesn't mean that you will have to do all the work. And honestly, as I was thinking about this afternoon, it doesn't have to be a lot of work. As you see in the agenda, I'm going to skip over a couple things. We talked briefly about should we be hosting a series of forums, and I think that's an awesome idea because there's going to be so many things that might bubble up for us. So I think that this doesn't have to be a huge workload. But what we do need is 3 or 4 people to be able to have some conversation around this to really get it going. There was some emails that came across about history of racism, a dialogue around civics, call-in versus call-out culture. So I'd like for us to have a short discussion now where we can hear from you all who are on the committee about some ideas for a forum. I think that the 3 pieces we need are a strong facilitator, a subject that we think is engaging for our community, and some of the technical aspects of holding a forum via Zoom. And I think that if we can come up with a short list tonight, come up with 3 or 4 of you who will step up to help organize this, we could put something together to have in the next 12 weeks. So
I'm happy to start off since I was the one who generated some of the discussion points. I think it would be productive to have, again, either we could call it a lot of different things, training, forum, panel, dialogue, but something that addresses how, well, civics was one idea, just a basic civics lesson and how does our city government work and how do committees work. But bigger to me right now feels like something around communicating across differences and how to dialogue with people who have different ideological, political attitudes. This seems like a skill set that would benefit a lot of us and a lot of folks that live in our city. So it seems like that might be a nice platform to start with before we start sort of having these discussions about some of the bigger issues that we've been talking about, so that we can get on the same page with understanding how do you effectively work with people who are different than you? How do you communicate in ways that are collaborative and don't alienate people? And how do you push for change effectively and persistently, but in a way that will hopefully optimize your goals, right? So there are a lot of people who have great skills that they could probably bring to the table around how to have those discussions. So, yeah.
Great idea.
any other thoughts on, I mean, I'd say, I mean, that sounds like a great start, because I think it could cover a lot of different issues that have been arising and maybe be a great jumping off point for other forums. But anyway.
It would just help if we had tools in order to address topics. Right. I don't think we're going to get very far with topics if we don't have tools and we don't kind of have some common ground that we're working with.
I think that's a great idea. Like have a common language and a common understanding.
I agree, Abby. I think that's a great foundation for being able to set us up for doing other mini series, continuing this forever instead of it just being this one-time thing. So I agree definitely with the civics, the communication part. And I'm someone, I think I've mentioned this before, I'm very big on emotional intelligence, because I think that really helps. Some people don't even realize there's such a thing as emotional intelligence. So, that would be my only recommendation for the communication side of it, is maybe if we can mention something about that and really, start having people think outside that box.
I have a question, Abby. Were you envisioning it as just like one speaker, or would this be a panel, a group of a couple of people? I mean,
yeah. I think we should first, or the people doing the planning should investigate what kinds of options there are out there. I also want to, I think I've brought this up before, that we really need to be thoughtful about, if we don't have the funds to pay somebody, we can't ask them to do very much. So are there funds available to pay somebody an honorarium? Because it takes time to put together a training. Or do we want something pretty basic, which would require maybe less of somebody? So I think it could take a lot of different, and again, I think I envision this maybe as a series, right? So first maybe a training, and then maybe an opportunity to dialogue, or kind of a talkback session where people, especially in the community, could talk about what they've learned, or how we might apply this, and where we see this is really relevant in our community, and so on. So I think to nail down the specifics, I think that will really be up to the people who are planning.
I'd like to say that I'm happy to be part of that smaller group planning it. And that I'd like to talk about like the value in including a little bit of education, such as like basic definitions like microaggressions and white supremacy, things like that. So I think that would be helpful for our community. Also, I think forums going forward, I think we really ought to take input from the community about what they would like to hear.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that with the communication efforts that we're going to be talking about, there will eventually be a way to solicit efficiently input, right? Rather than, whether that's a spreadsheet or a survey, that people can actually easily give us their ideas.
Margaret.
Yes, I'm sorry to ask this. I think you just described it, but I was off on this thought, which I'll tell you in a second. What was the answer to Abby's question about any honorarium or anything like that? Do we know anything about that as a possibility?
So one thing, just as we're moving forward in tonight's meeting, to let you know, is that Deb and I are planning on reaching out to the mayor to sit down and have a conversation about some of the questions we don't have answers to. So that would probably fall under that meeting.
And I know she previously mentioned that there might be some money available, but at the time she did not have any specific information for us about how much or exactly when it was going to be available. So I do remember at a meeting she had said it's possible that we could have some funds. So we can follow up and find out.
Thank you. That's helpful.
So is anybody else willing to work with Emily on this? And I know we're all busy. I guess, Abby, I'm wondering if you if you couldn't be like hands-on involved. I'm wondering if you could maybe just like expand a little bit more on your thoughts of this, like maybe just a little outline of what this could look like that they could work from, and give them some direction to, seek out, who might be a good facilitator, or, what types of, forums like this have happened in our area or stuff like that. And that way just gives them a little direction.
Yeah, and I have some folks that they certainly can contact. I hesitate to put my name forward just because of my own very considerable constraints right now. But I would be happy to serve in some kind of advisory capacity, or like, touch base with me or ask me or consult or talk or whatever. I just don't know that I can commit to like more meetings, for example. But I'm happy to draw something up and to give even names of people that I think might be a first step to kind of reach out to.
Super.
Awesome. That'd be great.
I also hesitate at this time to do more commitment. I don't know how the school year is going to go with homeschooling and working full time. I know we all are going through things, but it's definitely, a concern. I don't want to promise that I can, handle this and then fail and let everyone down. But I would definitely love to help research, do what I can to make it happen, because I want it to happen. So whatever I can do in that aspect, I just don't want to be leading this project at this time, but I'll definitely be helping any way I can.
Alyssa, thank you for that. And I also just want to say we want to tap into you big time for Facebook. So I don't want you to overcommit, because we need you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'd be happy to work with Emily as long as I've got Abby for recommendations, because this is not a field I am in. If you wanted to conserve land, I could get you who you needed to know, but this is outside the realm of my experience. So I'm happy to help work with Emily on, doing the nuts and bolts of it, but some guidance as far as actual facilitators, at least from my perspective, would be needed.
Super. And know too that Deb and I are, we're not like completely just being like, here, do this. We're available as well. And I just want to acknowledge that Rebecca and Margaret both have volunteered for this additional work group that the city is forming. So this seems maybe like a good mix.
Great.
It sounds like I would also be able to do little bits I certainly minimally could commit to 1 or 2 brainstorming meetings to really kind of flesh this out and get the outline and just figure out what direction we're going in. And if we want helpers or experts, I mean, that's not really where I'm going with this in terms of getting experts, but if we can think of a few facilitators or how we want this to be in terms of really being about how does one create a space for a dialogue. That to me is really where we're going, is the how-to of how do we create a space for a dialogue where it's safe and that people can tolerate or manage difference, which is, one of the main names of the game here. So, but I think at least to start, to really be part of the brainstorming, and I have a hard time committing to something that is, to me, seems so kind of vague at the moment. So.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe so then we could just establish a small subcommittee of Mary Lou, Abby, and Emily. Maybe they could host a work session at some point, and then any one of us who wanted to share our thoughts or jump in or out or whatever, we could do that, but that committee would be kind of taking the lead. And in instances like that, we're treated more like, the remainder of us are treated more like, not as official and formal, but like public speak, but we aren't the primary people to discuss. It's the core group that's able to discuss, and then we can interject at an appropriate time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And plus we have these 2 nominees. If it works out when all the processes, maybe one of them might be interested as well.
Yes.
Right.
Super.
Okay, so maybe we could look at Mary Lou, Abby, Emily. I know, Abby, you're not wanting to lead this whole thing, so Mary Lou or Emily to kind of take the lead and maybe see about setting up a work session and putting
Happy
together.
to come to the first one, and I think that might actually be, and that way I can at least share some more ideas, and I'll bring some stuff to that meeting.
That'd be great. And then the rest of us can listen in or like participate respectfully at the appropriate time if we choose to do so.
So Emily, why don't you and I and Abby figure out a date offline that might work for us? I know I will be gone the first 2 weeks of September on vacation, so we'll have to work around that.
What's vacation?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Super. Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, so moving on to the next item on the agenda is procedures for documenting complaints from the community. Kathy, when she was here last time, she suggested an intake document, which sounded like a great idea. And so I think it would make sense for us to put together a document to serve that purpose. That we could make accessible to the public when we make ourselves in general much more accessible to the public, which we're going to work on. So I think that would make sense. It's kind of probably putting a detail ahead of the bigger issues of making ourselves more accessible in the first place, but nevertheless, I think a valuable one. And so I know I was thinking that whatever we put together, we should probably run that by the mayor for her input. And
So Deb,
yeah,
started looking into some templates for doing this. So I can do that and we can put that on our agenda for the mayor.
Okay. Would that be acceptable to everyone?
Yes. That sounds great.
And then of course we'll bring the draft back to the committee and you guys can look at it next time.
That'd be great. And if you don't mind, just, I think that the two of you would do this, but I think in the past we haven't always been updated on some of these mayoral meetings. So if you don't mind letting us know how it goes, and
we will.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I make a request? Can we call it something other than a complaint form?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we put a more positive spin on that? Just because maybe if we're going to try to do a generic form for input, it might be somebody suggesting a forum or something. I think complaint.
Yeah, no, I think we were working more from like an intake form, like something like that. But
okay,
Intake has a very different meaning in a lot of contexts. I mean, why not just call it an input form or suggestion?
How about community input?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Community input. Yeah. Community input form.
Great.
Sounds good.
It's done. It's in ink.
Sounds good. Okay, so
I'm sorry, Emily thought you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I have not looked at the complaint form, as it's called, on the city website, but we should just check that just to see if there's any sections in there that might be helpful or might be expected by the mayor. I don't know.
I'll do it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm on it.
Okay.
okay. All right, then we'll run that by the committee as a whole, and then before implementing anything, we'll just run it by the mayor for her approval as well. Okay, next on the agenda, our Community Relations Committee outreach campaign. So there are a lot of aspects to this. Like one, of course, is the logo. And then we need to talk about all of the ways to make ourselves more visible and accessible to the community. But all right, let's just start with the logo since it's listed first. Did all of you see the document that was sent out a few days ago, the revised updated options for logos?
Yes.
That was based on the feedback from last time.
Can I see that?
Oh, so,
Yes.
so I also just put together and to help us effectively evaluate and decide on a logo, I just put together a little bit of information to educate everybody on the purpose of a logo and the things to keep in mind that make a logo particularly successful. So I just put together this information of what a logo is supposed to do, and just also shared some logos that you probably know right off the bat what companies they represent by just looking at those logos. And my point in doing this is just so that you really think about and understand what a logo is supposed to achieve. Patty, if you scroll down a little bit more.
Sure.
So the main really, really important thing is that it's simple and that people will recognize it as soon as they see it. And it also should be something that's going to work effectively, whether it's billboard size or whether it's very small, like on letterhead paper, or whether it's, you know, even smaller than that on, you know, some applications, for instance, a Facebook profile picture or something. So the other feature is that it's going to look great and be meaningful and attention getting in an instant, whether it's big or whether it's very small and very clear. So it needs to be clear, memorable, impactful, and be able to be used in a variety of applications. Patty, can you keep going a little bit more? Okay, so this is a little bit long, but the idea is it should be minimalistic. And so when someone's designing a logo, they really should be focusing on taking away anything that's excessive and not needed, and to keep it as simple and basic as possible, so it can be instantly grasped at a glance. So it's, yeah, that basically all of this text just says that in a nutshell. We want it to be recognizable in a second. And also that it's applicable, as I said, so that it's available to be used effectively in a variety of media choices. You know, it'll work well, you know, in some kind of letterhead or a paper format. It'll look good in whether we use it on Facebook, whether we use it on a website, whether we use it on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker at some point. All of those things just play into it being a really effective thing. So it's got to be really effective small and really effective big. So I just put together that information for you to consider as you look at these options. And I think all of you, would everyone agree that they can recognize like these examples of these effective logos? And the reason they're effective is, you know, right off the bat what companies they represent. So that's what we're going for here with community relations. We're going for something that's easily recognizable, that just stands out, that we can use in a variety of formats effectively. And with that said, I'm going to just refer us back to that document that Elizabeth put together for us. And the top two logos on the top of the first page are the ones that we were working with before the first round. And then the others that she did were variations based on the request for buildings to look a little different than the other Good Neighbors committee in town. And then there was also the request to do something that would represent potentially the pond in the circular image, our Mount Tom image in the circle, which I just have to share my own personal comment on that. And that is that I kind of figured that would be very challenging to do. While I think it's an amazing and awesome idea, I knew it was going to be challenging because I've tried to do it before. And I worked for about 10 years volunteering for the Easthampton Public School District, working with the superintendent on marketing and public relations for the district. And at different times, I've actually worked on different logos for the district, brochures, all kinds of promotional materials. And at one point worked with our former superintendent on trying to come up with a new logo for the district, and worked endlessly with a graphic designer on trying to get the pond image. And ultimately, we never could really make that work so that it would be work well, big or large. I tend to think the same thing is the case here. Like, I think it wouldn't be immediately clear to anybody what that is, like that we know what we're trying to see here, but I don't think it's going to be immediately identifiable to anybody at a glance. Anyway, so that's my comment there, and I'll stop talking and open up the floor for discussion on these logos if anyone else has thoughts to share.
I completely agree with you, Deb. I was just going to say the water thing. I didn't even remember that, and I kept staring at it trying to figure out what I thought it was like a whale or something. But I appreciate that you sent out the clarification around simplicity, and that led me to really favor the ones that were the cleaner designs that really just said Easthampton Community Relations Committee and got rid of Great Neighbors, because I think while that's a catchy slogan, it just introduces more words. And if we have to have Easthampton and we have to have the CRC, do we really need all of those words together in a logo?
Well, and that's another thing too, like, in my opinion, say for example, Patty, can you take the screen off of there again so I can see people?
Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I just like to see you all. So like, for instance, my thinking with the circular one that has Easthampton and then the line, #GreatNeighbors, we could use just the circle as our logo, just the circle. And then in different applications, if we wanted to go forward at some future point with a Great Neighbor campaign, we could use just that piece of it, say for a bumper sticker or what have you, the Easthampton #GreatNeighbors. So we could dissect this any which way we want. So I don't think anything has to be a package deal, in other words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like personally, I like the circle because it's bold, it's clear, and just using that circle, like bam, that's it. That's our logo. We can then add whatever, if we could even ask her to add some other way to incorporate just the word Easthampton, like in some other, just to incorporate that. So that's another look for how it flows with the circle a little bit better than what's here with #GreatNeighbors. We could ask her to do that. So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't have to pursue the Great Neighbors campaign ever. We don't have to pursue it anytime soon. Whatever, we can ignore that altogether and maybe go down that road another time. But in terms of working with the basic elements here, I think we could choose a basic element to go forward with, and then we could always ask for variations of it. Like if we wanted to make sure its application said Easthampton in the same message, we could ask for.
Deb, Emily is.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, sorry, I'm talking too much.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to say I had actually liked the Community Relations Committee logo with the mountain. I think it could be simplified graphically so that it is understandable. But I do also like the mill buildings. One backstep question is are we going, we haven't defined our process. Are we going to be voting on this? Is it going to be a unanimous decision, or is there going to be just a majority vote? But then also I like what you said about that last option having different uses, Deb. And then I do agree that we should not put in #GreatNeighbors right now, especially because clearly I think a lot of us are not feeling like we're great neighbors. And certainly with past hate crimes, I don't think the whole community would agree that we are a community of great neighbors right now. So we should leave that off for now. I kind of think, yeah, I mean, I feel a little uncomfortable discussing this, because I don't see how we're going to come up with a solution even tonight, or an answer even tonight. And I do also wonder, are we going to be voting? Is it going to be unanimous? The whole bit. I also think we have to think about what we're selling here. We're not selling ourselves as a committee. We're selling communication, and or not even selling. We're just trying to. I don't know. I'm just unclear about how much our logo is going to be. Is going to need to be identifiable.
So can I?
Well, that's the point of the logo. Okay, go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, thanks. So I personally feel like we need to come up with an answer on this. I think we have bigger fish to fry, whatever the term is. And I don't think we want to get too bogged down in this. I think something clear would be good. For me, I still feel like the buildings have a big opportunity to confuse us with Easthampton neighbors. I find it a little busy, and that's me. And I think that I love the Circle Community Relations Committee and Easthampton, and I think it's very clear. And I think even to your point, Emily, is this isn't the end all be all for us, but we do need something that we can put on our Facebook page, that we can put on our community input form, that people can identify that it is us and we were out there. And so we can move forward on creating those ways for people to connect with us, which we're clearly hearing from people is that they want to do. And I honestly think we need to get this logo off our agenda. I really feel strongly about that, so we can move forward with more important.
I agree with you. And we all have different aesthetics, clearly. You know, I just love the buildings. I like the buildings and the houses, and I like the words, you know, Community Relations Committee, Easthampton. I like that. It looks like we look great on stationery, great on t-shirts, but you know, I understand it's not a simple circle. I'm just wondering, Deb and Patty, if they want the circle with Community Relations Committee, Easthampton, you know, at the very top of all of these different logos under the originals, at the very top of page 1 on the right, it has the circle with Easthampton in capital letters, and then we would eliminate hashtag great neighbors from that one. Is that the one is that what you're kind of talking about as a possible one to decide on tonight? Because I could go with that. I could definitely go with that.
The other thing I wanted to add is that, let's say, you know, and again, like, we need to do this. And I don't want to, like, talk about t-shirts and bumper stickers. I don't want to have those conversations. But we could have a gorgeous t-shirt with a beautiful picture of the pond and Mount Tom in the background with CRC Easthampton. So you can add those elements of Easthampton to things that we're doing with a very simple design. So, you know, so let's just, I don't want to be pushy, but I want to try and push through on this.
Mm-hmm. So I definitely really like the circle, and I'm so glad we kind of talked about breaking it up, you know, taking off a good spot of it. But I know a lot of people, aesthetics, do like the buildings. There is on the 4th page on the top right, it says Easthampton Great Neighbors, and then there's a building, and the circle is really close to the buildings. What if we got rid of all those Easthampton Great Neighbors and then just had the buildings with the circle really close to it?
It's just very busy.
Yeah, and I definitely, my 100% preference is that community relations in a circle is simple, clean, and maybe that buildings we can move to a later date, a year or two down the road. But that was just a thought for those who.
The other thing I like about the circle is that I guess I feel like we're really not about the buildings, we're really about people. And I kind of like the idea of the circle is a symbol of unity to me. It kind of symbolizes, I don't know, it has that feel to me like a circle is, I don't know, what's the word? I'm not sure, but.
Do you know what holding hands in a circle?
What'd you say?
Holding hands in a circle?
Yeah. Like, yeah. It has that sense of unity or something, or I don't know.
Inclusive.
But it's simple. That's the main thing. Mm-hmm. So I just really value the simplicity of it. And that's the thing. We want people, when we flash up this and symbol along with all the others, from Nike to McDonald's to whatever, Target, to look at this and go, oh yeah, Community Relations Committee, Easthampton. And I think we could ask her if she might be willing to just do some variations of getting the word Easthampton associated with the symbol. I mean, just to tie it together a little bit, or just give us some options for utilizing that. I mean, well, I think we could use the circle a lot as is going forward, but we could also just use a few other design elements available to us that incorporate Easthampton. And perhaps.
Oh, I was just going to say, I really appreciate all of your work on this, and also bringing us back to actually like the basics. And I think I completely agree. I think if we start with the basic circle, which is simple and clean, later on we have the option to add these elements, and that way we can make a decision and hopefully move on. But it's just me.
And if we can add Easthampton from the beginning, I'd like that. It's not essential.
Okay.
I don't know that we all have to, I don't know. I personally don't need it to be exactly known this minute, and I can support whatever the final product is. Right?
Okay. Well, we could vote to proceed with that particular logo, and I could, go back to her, thank her obviously for all her time and talents, and sharing her time and talents with us, and ask just for going forward. We'd like to use the circle, but going forward, if she could possibly provide us with a couple of other options where we can tag the name Easthampton onto it in a visually pleasing way, that would be awesome.
I agree with that.
Does that sound acceptable?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, we do. Okay, so all of those in favor of proceeding with the circle as our logo officially, and me pursuing with Elizabeth Green some additional options for how to effectively tag on Easthampton to that visual element for when we want to use it that way.
Do we need the roll call vote?
Yeah, but we'll need to motion first.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so any other discussion before we vote?
No.
Do you want to repeat that so that I actually get it down? I'm sorry. So the motion to use the circle design
as our official logo,
and we're authorizing you, Deb, right, to
pursue with the graphic designer some additional design options that would use that circle logo, but also incorporate the name Easthampton. So basically we have one option, the circle just as it is, and we're looking to just have some additional options for different applications that incorporate the word Easthampton.
Yes, so the way I wrote it down is the motion is to use the circle design as our official logo, and authorizing Deb to pursue with the graphic designer some additional design options that would use that circle logo, but also include the word Easthampton.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, so there is a motion. It's been seconded. We'll do the roll call. Rebecca?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm excited. I feel like we've got something to start, to work with. It's great. It's exciting. Thank you. And thank you to Elizabeth Green.
Thank you to her too, yes.
So next on our agenda, outreach mechanisms. So let's start off with a discussion of the fact that Myra pointed out to us, and also Kay also pointed out today, how we need to make it easier to reach out to our committee and for them to find us, which is so true, and such a good point. And so there's a variety of ways for us to do that. One is going to be our presence on the city's website, which Emily graciously took upon the task of evaluating what's there and making some suggestions. So maybe we could start our conversation on this with regard to Emily's suggestions for what's currently on the city website about our committee. Is that okay?
Great.
With everyone? Okay. So Emily, do you want to talk about your thoughts on all this?
We have to make sure to unmute you. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, I don't have it in front of me at this second.
Oh, that's okay. Do you want me to remind you what you said?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, on the city website, it says, it has the name of our committee, our mission statement, our vision statement, and then lists the members, and that we have 2 vacancies. Rebecca added, meetings are generally held on the second Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. Community members are welcome to attend, and unless the session has been designated as a work session, public speak time will take place at the start of the meeting, and the link to attend the meeting may be found on the following page. So she provides a link. If you'd like to send any correspondence, you may do so at the following methods. And she's got our mailing address at 50 Payson Avenue. She's got email at communityrelations@easthamptonmass.gov, which is great. I just want to know who's monitoring that. How do we access it? We don't have it. I don't have that information at this point in time. And then there's also a phone number, which apparently goes to, I'm guessing it might go to the mayor's office. I guess you weren't sure on that either, Emily, right?
So Deb, we can add that to our list for the mayor to check on all that.
Okay. So I guess the goal is to just make this abundantly clear and incorporate the things that Emily has suggested, like when our meetings are usually held, how they link to them, how to reach us via phone, email, address, etc. Okay. And then it was also, she also attached, which was interesting, that recently the city council voted to establish easthamptonmass.gov email addresses for all committee chairs, which would make a lot of sense. And anyway, looks like that's been approved by the city council, but it's now been moved on to the Rules and Government Relations Committee. So we'll see how that comes out, but that would be immensely helpful if we had something that that we could put out there that we would monitor on a regular basis, as opposed to just putting our personal email addresses out there.
If you want to provide input or listen, the meeting for rules is on Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, great. This coming Thursday. Do you have the date? What's the date this coming Thursday, Abby?
It's the 27th, I believe.
27th. Okay.
Yeah.
Rules Committee. Okay. It just seemed like that would be a great idea.
There was also some discussion previously about putting the spirit report, a link to the spirit report on our website as well.
I think that's a good idea. Yep.
Yeah.
I do too. Good idea.
Yeah, that sounds good. And anything else anyone thinks of that we should include at this point? I mean, we can always, this is a work in process. We can add as we go along. We could put our logo on there.
I think we should.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Emily, for the work you did on this. I really appreciate it. And we'll work to make this happen.
Great.
Through the mayor's office. Okay. Next, city website. Okay. Other ways for people to get in touch with us and know about us. Do we have anything else before we talk about Facebook? Do we have any other suggestions or ideas for people to be able to reach us, reach out?
What about if, well, when do we imagine this website to begin to be put on, be up? What's the timing, a month?
Well, I guess the question, we can meet with the mayor sometime soon. The question will be, I don't know what that IT person's backlog would be or schedule would be for making changes to the website. I don't know what their schedule would be, so it would be hard to commit for when the work would be executed, but.
I mean, I'd like to think it could be soon because our previous chairman's name is already off of it. So okay. I would think it, and it's just text. So I think it could be pretty darn fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it would seem to me, I mean, having the vision statement, et cetera, but also working on intake, what do we call it, community input form, just a list of, community dialogue, et cetera, just as terms of where we are going in you know, just bullets. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Margaret, would you want to send a few of those items out?
What we're working on.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. And then
I will do that.
And when we have our input form, we can obviously link it from there too.
So Margaret, you're talking about putting a few bullet points. I'm sorry, what?
I was just telling Margaret I was going to mute her for a second because I couldn't hear over the phone. You can unmute yourself when you want to. But go ahead. Just because the dog is barking.
Yeah, Deb, I don't know what we're going to...
I was just going to clarify. So you're saying to include a few bullet points that talks about things that we're currently working on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Such as some kind of forum?
Well, a community input forum, forums, public dialogues. I don't know. I would look through what we're getting our email addresses, etc. That this is in process with the city.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would need to be changed. I guess maybe we don't want to do that because it would need to be monitored and then changed.
Well, I'm thinking that we could get the community input form on there pretty quickly, just to have that accessible, and we could, as soon as we have any information about any kind of forum, we'd obviously put it up there to promote what's happening as well, any events we have coming up or any special topics that we want to spread the word on.
And I think we could have, once we have a Facebook page going, that we could have the link to there, and that's
right.
where sort of things that we wanted to change more quickly could be posted. And then we wouldn't have to go through the city for that.
Right. So for example, that would be another thing that we're working on is a Facebook page.
Right.
Right.
But I do think if there's once we have the forum plan, there's a specific event, we can put that on there.
Yeah. Okay, so does that lead us effectively into the discussion about Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. So we should probably get that going, right?
Yeah, definitely. So what I've done is I've reviewed our other city Facebook pages, kind of seeing the content they're posting, and just kind of how it's run, how frequently they're posting. I have gone ahead. I've talked to Zoe from the mayor's office. She's given me some really good insight. She gave me the specific Facebook pages to kind of look at. So I did create the page. In the background, it's offline, so not even if you're searching anything you could find, because I really just wanted to start building the basics of our address. There is a place where you can put your website in there, so I did link it to our current, very plain community relations page on the city's website. You can put the privacy policy, so I put the social media policy out there. So now that we have the logo, I'll work with you, Deb, to kind of getting that officially sized and everything. And then I do just want to reach out, it's still on my to-do list, to kind of talk to someone who runs one of the other city Facebook pages and just kind of get some advice, input before we make it live. I do have some ideas for what we should be posting. I think it would be a really good idea, and this is just my opinion. I would like to spotlight us, just so people can start to get to know us, because if there is something in the community that's going on, I want our community to have a relationship with us and feel comfortable being able to, if they're not comfortable coming to public speak, be able to approach us. So, me saying I live on Line Street, please come talk to me, that sort of thing. And just say, I have 2 kids, just to get to know me as a person. Then my goal is to I love, Margaret's idea of posting what we're doing. So if every Monday we say, all right, this is what we're working on, every other Monday or after a meeting. So, those are the kind of ideas I have to start outlining. I know there's a specific marketing term for that. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So kind of like I said, my hopes is to reach out to someone that actually runs one of the Facebook pages so I can get some good advice on that. And like I said, I'm building it in the background. So pretty much if we want to start writing bios for ourselves at this point, I don't know what everyone's comfort level or idea even on that is. So
I think that's a nice idea for, it's all about relationships that we ought to share about who we are. And yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
That's a great idea too.
Okay.
And by the way, just so you know, on the agenda, we originally had introductions and welcoming new committee members. And I do want us to do that whenever anybody new comes on. And I think it would be really helpful for all of us to go, each of us to spend 1 minute and just talk about, what you do for a living or something meaningful about yourself, whatever it may be, whatever you want to share, and just spend a minute so that, that we're really a group that knows each other. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Or knows each other better. Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you all on the feedback of the bios and what else do you guys want? Some of us don't have Facebook and that's completely fine. I think I don't want everyone to feel like this is our one all for communication. You have to be on Facebook to know about us. This is just another way to communicate to our community. So is there anything you guys would like to see? It doesn't have to be what's getting posted on September 1st by any means, but it's kind of, over the next 6 months, what should we be posting? What do you think people would like? Or we don't have to come up with that right now. I just didn't know if we had any burning Facebook topics that, that would be good. Of course, when we get to the forum series, we can, put spotlights on that, that sort of thing. I even envision it saying, hey, our meeting's tonight at 6 o'clock. We'd love to see you guys. So that is kind of my visions for that. I just didn't know if anyone had any burning subjects they feel like we need to address.
I think it would be a good place to put maybe some of the other things that are on coming on the city. I know the planning department has had surveys online for projects that they're exploring. There's going to be an open space survey that's going to be done in the next couple of months that they want city input on. So I think having it as a place at other events other than our events could be highlighted. Would be good. I don't participate in Facebook. I am not comfortable with my bio being on Facebook. So that's just my own personal attempt to maintain a bit of privacy in my life. So I won't be submitting a bio.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying, we all, just not just for you, Mary Lou, but for everyone. We don't need, where you go out to dinner and even your address, anything like that. Just more of a, hi, this is who I am. I have, 2 kids and like to go to the beach, that sort of thing. So I don't want anyone to feel at all, like we need to tell the whole community everything about us. So, but just a little of a face thing, and that's completely respectable, Mary Lou. I don't, I feel like.
Oh, and one thing that, and not to push anybody, but one thing that could be on there is obviously your name is already public, and this is why this is why I joined this committee.
Right.
That, and that would be really nice, I think, for people to hear, because one thing I keep thinking is that we all joined this because we want to do some good work. And so whatever that was that made you want to join this committee could be, instead of a bio, that could be, what you say.
Yep. So, oh, one other thing, Alyssa, I could put you in touch. Do you know Pat Bruff by chance?
I know of him. I've never spoken.
Okay, because I could put you in, he's kind of like a Facebook master for Easthampton. And I could put you in touch with him because he knows all the ins and outs of Facebook well. And he's established the good news page for Easthampton. And he does a lot on Facebook. So I could ask him if he'd be willing to talk with you.
Yeah, that would be great.
And advice, that would be, okay.
Thank you.
I'll try to put you two together, connect you.
Awesome.
Okay, well, you sounds like you've made some great progress for us already. That sounds awesome. And
thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks.
So like I said, my goal from here is to talk to a Pat, talk to someone else, kind of get that guidance, before making anything official. Of course, we're not going to roll anything out in the next week, 2 weeks, anything like that. I just wanted you guys to all have an update and to see kind of where we're at.
Great. And I'll get you the logo too. I'll get the actual art from our graphic designer.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. Anything else on that topic right now before we move on?
I guess I just want to say that I'd like to definitely have a discussion about how it will be monitored. Of course, what the posting abilities will be, messaging, who will it go to, that sort of thing. I think we need to think about some of that.
Yeah, my biggest concern, and I tried to do some research, I looked at Google support and I couldn't really find anything, is the commenting. I really want, if people have concerns, that sort of thing, I want them to email, call, write us a letter. I don't want it to, be a big long Facebook discussion rant where everyone gets riled up. That's like the least thing I want out of this page. I really just want it to be a platform for people to know what's happening in our community and have that, communication. So that's my hesitation. I'm definitely 100% want to do whatever is best for that. I think I've found where we can shut off messaging. So wouldn't it just be me monitoring all the comments, all the messaging? I'm hoping that, you guys could also, help monitor that if you have Facebook accounts, just to kind of make sure I'm not missing anything. I definitely do my best.
Alyssa, I think there's ways to manage that. I'm currently still an administrator of the Easthampton Public School District Facebook page, which doesn't make any sense, but I was one of the ones that founded it, which is why I'm still there, I think. But there are ways to allow people to not comment. Like you said, we do not want that. We do not want to set up another Easthampton group page with all kinds of.
I would love for people to be able to share. So if there is an event like a survey going on, I would love someone to be able to share that. It's just the commenting. I really, because I would love people to. I want to filter people to public speak with their comments. I don't, want it to be a Facebook.
And there's a way for the public to comment through Messenger, through Message Us, but not publicly post it. But also I think we need to figure out a way of how that could get then filtered to another source so that we don't have too many people having to monitor all things at all times.
And though I set this up in the background, it is linked to my account. So my hope is that I'm just playing around with it right now to see what we need, what research I can do. But when we get this city email address, I would like to be able to link it to that because, one day I might not be on the committee, so I would like this to still move forward even after I'm not involved. So that's kind of my, okay.
We'll figure all that. Okay, so moving on, I'm very concerned about the time. It's already 7:30. So I'm hoping that we could just talk about this last agenda item in 2 minutes. And if we need to continue discussions, we can do it at another time. But just to wrap this up so that we can adjourn really quickly here and not keep everybody any longer. So update on responding to correspondence. Emily was so gracious to put together a draft of a potential letter we could use when people reach out to us with concerns. I think it's great. And Patty, I should let you comment on that, obviously, as well, and well, everybody comment on it. But I was just wondering if we could also have, because we won't have the ability to listen, we won't have the ability to put anybody who reaches out to us with any concern or comment all the time. We won't be able to put them all on our agenda, and we can't have people sending us down a variety of rabbit holes. We have to be able to focus on our mission and our tasks at hand. And I think that there'll be a need for a simple letter that would just talk about, thank you for your letter, and it'll be shared with the committee, and we're grateful for your input, you know, without a commitment to putting things on the agenda. But does anyone else want to talk about that?
I think, yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think that is a little bit what we talked about last time. I guess I would say inviting them to public speak isn't too much to add.
And we should let them know that their correspondence will be shared with everybody. Did I say that?
Yeah, no, you didn't say that, but
okay.
Yeah, I thought the same, that we should make sure it's clear that that everybody at in the committee will see the correspondence. And, you know, I think that, to Deb's point, certainly if we're getting the same, you know, if we're getting 100 letters on one subject, then we probably should consider putting it on our agenda. But again, we can't, I don't think we want to promise everyone that we're going to have, you know, deep discussion about every single issue. But certainly to come to public speak and also share their thoughts. So I don't know, I'll let everybody else talk.
No, I agree with you, Patty. I think what you're saying is right.
So we basically have like two different options. One is not thanking them for the letter or whatever it is, that their information will be shared with the entire committee and that we appreciate their input, and a really basic, simple message like, welcome to come to public speak at any time. We always appreciate hearing from members of the community. Like, that's it. And then another one would be the one like what Emily put together when we want to add that information to our agenda. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do. I also don't think it's terrible to have the note about the open meeting law so people are clear, unless you guys think it's too wordy. But I do think we want to just take out the part, we don't want to take out the part about definitely adding them to our agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
So Deb, you're saying, excuse me, Patty, we're not going to add these issues to our agenda off of the Facebook page. Is that what you're saying? That's not what we're going to do?
No. So this letter that Emily put together is we talked about doing a standard response, right. So that we wanted people to know that we received their letter and we're addressing it. And it may end up on our agenda, but it may not. So we don't want to promise that it'll end up on the agenda.
Right.
So, we want to thank them. We want to acknowledge their feedback. We want to let them know the whole committee will see, we'll share this with the whole committee and invite them to public speak if they want to. Does that sound good?
I think, Patty, I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure we need 2 letters.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right.
Letter.
Okay. I got confused there.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's my fault because I was, that's fine. I agree, that's fine. I was thinking that we could go have two different options, but that's fine.
Well, don't you think we do? Like if it's something that we are going to add to the agenda, then we should write them back and let them know that it is going to be on the agenda, and so then they can be sure to come if they want to come.
That's a great point. I think that would be a different, but we're not gonna decide that until the next meeting. You know what I mean? This is that first letter that goes out, so we make sure they know they've been heard.
Mm-hmm.
But can't we entrust the co-chairs to decide whether it could be on the agenda? Oh, no, we can't, because it has to be, no, you can add it to the agenda before the date that the agenda needs to be decided, right?
Well,
Right.
maybe my question would be, so if and maybe we want to talk about this, but if I'm a secretary and I respond so that I have this letter and I'm generally using it to respond to everything and making sure the correspondence is shared, then we come to a meeting. Then we're deciding if it's going to be on a future agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But at least that first response goes right out before we even have a chance to think about whether it's on the agenda or not.
Right. Right, exactly. Acknowledging receipt.
So then the letter needs to say something like, the points made within your letter may be added to the agenda. We will let you know ahead of time. No?
I would just keep it really simple. Thank you for your input. Thank you for writing to us. We appreciate hearing from members of the community. We will be sure to share your information with the entire committee. Thank you again. That kind of thing, like real brief, real simple, real just acknowledging receipt, and that it's going to be shared with everybody. And we're grateful to hear from members of the community.
I think it should have a thing. I think there should be a paragraph on public speak.
Yeah. But yeah, you're always welcome. Please know you're always welcome to attend. But I don't want people to feel like frustrated, like, well, I just spent all this time writing you a letter and now you're telling me I have to come to this meeting and talk about it. Like I don't want people to feel that that's necessary at any point.
Well, that's why I wrote, if you would like to attend that meeting to speak or observe. Anyway, I think we're going to have to kind of assume that we may be editing these letters, our letters back, as they come in. I don't think we can assume that we're going to have like one final response letter to all correspondence that we get.
Well, I wouldn't see this as final. I would see this as initial.
This is the initial response, right? This is just the initial response, and I think any other particulars can also be, we can say, wow, gee, we really need to send another correspondence. We really need to follow up on this. Just like it'll just be, it's not an empty, gee, thanks, but it is the initial response that, yes, we acknowledge that we received something from you.
So,
and we're going to share it, and then we can follow up and figure out what we're going to do with that correspondence later, next.
So if we could just back up for 1 second. The original thought of this letter was because correspondence was coming in and we didn't want somebody to have to wait a month for a response. So what we wanted to do was just acknowledge that we received the letter, and then potentially, and then share it with everybody. And it may end up on an agenda at some point. So this was the original intent of this was to not have to wring our hands over what we're doing with this information, but that we're acknowledging that we received this, and then we can move forward. And yes, like Margaret said, there may be, or somebody said, there may be follow-up to it. So that was the original intent of this letter, was to say, we received this, thank you, we will share it with the committee. Feel free, if you would like to come to public speak, you're of course more than welcome to. And then if we, decide that this is something we want to have a conversation about, then we could follow up with that person.
Right.
Do we all agree on that?
I basically agree with that, but the nature, we can't forget that the nature of our open meeting law and all this public speak, or the public meeting thing is that we can't discuss any of this stuff on the agenda.
Right.
Right? Like we might email the letter out to within our committee saying, hey, we got this letter, but we can't, because of the open meeting law, we can't discuss that via email. So it's going to end up on the agenda anyway.
Not necessarily.
So I think my attitude, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if you disagree as to my role, if I'm receiving things, I'd like this to send out right away and then share the correspondence. So this goes out right away. I don't have to ask anybody. I don't have to worry about it. They get a response. Then I share the letter, and maybe some people of the committee, because you know what, one thing I think that we can discuss under open meeting law is we can ask about what goes on the agenda. We can discuss agendas. So people could write back in and say, hey, I think we need to put that on the agenda. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we can think about whether then the correspondence further goes out, or at least we then would be talking about it in the meeting. Mm-hmm. And probably if I share it with everybody, then when we come on our agenda generally to correspondence, we can think about, hopefully not our 100 letters in, but we can think about what the highlights are and what we want to address. Mm-hmm. And what further we're going to do. But at least there's going to be that initial letter. They can get it right away. They know we got the correspondence.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Not all correspondence will end up on the agenda.
Right.
But we do need to make sure that we do have a system whereby everybody receives everything that comes in. So just to make sure everyone's aware at all times of what's coming in.
Mm-hmm. So okay. I think, so Deb and Patty, you've got a lot of things on your agenda for the mayor, so you'll be finding out about the email address.
Right.
That'll be one way for things to come in.
Yeah.
So can we agree that we'll take what Emily started and just kind of edit out the part about the being on the agenda? And is that okay? Can we just agree on that?
Okay.
Will that move us forward tonight?
Yes.
Everyone okay with that? Okay, good.
Let's get done before it's 7:46.
We got to adjourn. Yeah. Okay, I think it was a productive meeting. Thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Do we need a date for the next meeting?
Oh, sorry. Date to the next meeting. Yes, I'm sorry.
So what are we looking at? Tuesdays?
Was it the second Tuesday of the month?
September 8th.
September 8th. My dogs get their heartworm pill on September 8th.
Oh.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. September 8th works for everyone? Okay, September 8th it is, 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second? Okay, do we have to do roll call? All those in favor? Can we just raise our hand for this one?
I think that we're constrained, but whatever you want to do.
Just this time, we'll get away with it. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.